And rather than we've only got roughly 15 minutes, rather than having a panel with lots of questions, I'm just going to do one question, go around everybody, and we'll assess and see where we are at that point. I'm going to put you on the spot. Marcus, you came up first. So putting you on the spot, I'm looking for your one key takeaway from another talker's or another speaker's talk today. What's the note that you wrote down, or something you can take away from somebody else today that stood out for you?
Oh, I wish I paid more attention now, don't I?
No pressure.
I think it was the first one, just in relation to, I guess, the gamble that we currently have, and kind of just getting a little bit more control over forecasting, right? I think it's super important that we have that, because at the moment, just forecasting for me in where the growth trajectory that SalesLoft is on, is the more I know and can confirm and qualify how much revenue we're going to get in the bank, it's going to be easier for me to kind of influence who I need to influence internally to help my business grow, just my component of my business grow.
Brilliant. Anthony, I'll come to you next. Key takeaway from another speaker today.
Yeah, I think I'll pick an easy one for me. Not that I wasn't concentrating on everyone else's, but Matt Tuson spoke a lot about mindset, and I think for me, a lot of the success that individuals have with BDRs, AEs, managers, sales leaders, it's all about mindset. So there was more than a couple of good key takeaways from there, but I thought the whole event was really good.
Brilliant. Andrei, same question to you.
Yeah, I think I'll go with the last thing that David said regarding where you don't compromise on time, which is recruitment. And I think this has been so applicable, and it's something I've always thought to myself so much. Like when you've run through 10 candidates and you're like, okay, this is 10 times X number of minutes wasted. You feel like it because you're not going to recruit them, and then you're on your next candidate, and then you actually find them, and you're happy to have actually wasted those minutes. And it's so true. I mean, and it sounds every time you do an interview where you know at the end it's not going to work. Yeah. You have this feeling, but at the end you never should compromise on recruitment, time on recruitment.
Yeah, fantastic point. Richard's not joined the stage just yet. Hopefully you will in a minute. So I'm just going to, that went quickly, so I just want to fire one other question at you guys. Anthony, back to your talk, if that's all right. You talked about readiness and how sales reps don't want to be, have the chalk and talk and loads of training. They want really relevant information, short, sharp. That point I pulled on before, short, sharp. Tied to key initiatives and outcome obsessed. Why do we think organizations haven't caught up with that then? Why are organizations still doing the chalk and talk long training sessions and tick box exercises, in your opinion?
So yes, good question. And I think that a lot of companies are now catching on. So if you search on LinkedIn now for sales readiness, there's about 350,000 people with sales readiness in their LinkedIn profile in some way. Sales enablement, 550,000 people. I think there's a shift now that's been happening. I've been in this space for 5 years. 5 years ago, it was an evangelical sale. You had to persuade people. Now, the 40% who aren't going to get on the bus are going to get left behind. And then they are going to be seen as a cost center. They are going to be frankly, be furloughed, because these are the individuals that are seen as a cost, not a profit. So for me, it's now, most of the organizations that are on board and getting this are going to leave their competitors behind. So I genuinely feel that there is a shift, and the good news is that most people in the roles, sales enablement, sales readiness, sales effectiveness, want to look at outcomes. It's just in the past, it's been how many you have to buy 3 or 4 tools to do each little piece. So it's been more difficult. Now we've got the platforms like Mindtickle and others, where you can actually do all of it in one platform and connect the data. It's far more easy, and there's far less excuses, and that means it's far better and more engaging for salespeople, because no one's, to the point, I think it was Marcus earlier, nobody's reading books and manuals anymore. They're going on YouTube and watching a minute video, and they're going and doing something, and that's the approach that we need in sales readiness, and how we can actually start getting results.
That's awesome. Thank you. Quick question for you, Andrei, if that's okay. You've obviously rolled out your new comp plan, and it's gone out to the team. Tell us about how that's been received by the wider team and the sales reps themselves.
I'd say one word which makes you feel like if your comp plan is a success when you roll it out and communicate on it, is the word fair. That was really what came out of it. And if you can have kind of like a compromise on the fact that your sales reps think it's fair, your whole C-level think it's there, that's probably something. It means that you've done something right. I mean, the reality in sales is that how often people and there is. And let me be kind of like true here. There is always a feeling in sales that sometimes it's unfair. Like this deal that came in, which is like ready to buy more or less. Marketing has done everything, and it's given to this sales rep. So there will always be a bit of unfairness, but I've always been a big advocate of trying to make things as fair as possible in sales. I always say to my team, I owe you this, whether it be in the processes we put in place, the comp plan we're going to roll out, anything. We're going to try and be it as fair as possible, and that was kind of like the outcome.
Yeah. And Marcus, question for you on your scout group. Yeah, you can probably tell I like that phrase. I think it's fantastic. What, in your experience, how long should you be working with that scout group and taking them in before you hire more locally?
Yeah, I think it depends on kind of what business you're operating in. I usually do two things. It's either we're on track to do about 80% to target, because we can usually work on optimizing that extra 20%. 80%, obviously, in relation to a rep's target, can sometimes be the company's target. The other one is if you've really refined your playbooks and you've really refined your kind of procession line sale, you usually just look at, have you been able to optimize your North Star metric? So that's either, volume of opportunity within a calendar month, or, dollar per opportunity, something of that nature. What that should then lead to kind of a clear understanding of that first beachhead. And then you kind of just get that team and you move them again. So they could be operating in Nordics for 3 months or 6 months. I think it's all just a case of, when do you feel that it's time to invest behind them?
Brilliant. That's awesome. Guys, thank you very much for joining us and contributing to the event today. I'm going to ask you to leave the stage so we can get the other speakers up. Thank you very much. To the other speakers, please join the stage.
I'm back.
Lauren, can you hear me though? That's the test. Can you hear me?
Could hear you this time. It was you. I have no idea what happened before.
I didn't take it personally, don't worry, but I'm glad you can hear me. So while we're talking, Lauren, I'll come to you. Same question to you. One key takeaway from one of the other speakers today for us, please.
I think it has to be the end with David. Just absolutely no compromise. I actually really like that. I might be just taking that. I know that wasn't part of your presentation, but really like that.
Nice. Go on then, David, your turn.
I think I like just listening to the regional expansion stuff. I think you had some pretty good ideas on just being narrow in your focus but running fast. I think that was really good stuff. I think it resonates with me really, because I'm big on like following gravity. I don't want to follow the rules and do what everyone else does, because that's why everyone's in the same pace, right? You want to go faster and you want to go in the right direction where the opportunity is. And I think that resonated with me really. Lean into the gravity and run harder than faster than anyone else and go kill it. I liked it.
Nice. Thank you. Matt?
A number of things really. First of all, comp plans are incredibly important to organizations. They drive behavior, and if you get them wrong, you've really screwed up your organization. So make sure they're right is a simple answer. And then, hiring without a shadow of a doubt is, every single one's $1 million decision. So why would you compromise? It's blatantly obvious that you don't want to do that. So hire hard is probably a big takeaway from everybody.
Okay, brilliant. And I'm just, if it's okay, we've probably only got a minute or two, Lauren, but I just want to fire this question back at you. I was going to ask you at the end of your talk, but you couldn't hear me, everyone else could. You talked about those 4 things, so strategy, technology, methodologies, and people. If you could pick, take the strategy off for a minute, because probably it overpins everything. If you could pick that technology over people, people over technologies, methodologies over technology, just look at those 3. Is there one that you say is front and center of everything that you would always lean to as the priority?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to be people. I actually talked about this with a ebook with James, but it's that like skill versus will. I think, just that innate ability to kind of join a sales organization. And, I think it has to be the people, and it has to be everything that you build behind it, the coaching, et cetera. So yeah, it's definitely the people.
Yeah. It's really, we've got a consistent opinion there, which is that, you can have all the sales tech in the world, all the methodologies in the world, but ultimately, if you've got the wrong people it ain't going to work. And I'm glad to hear that despite the sales technology landscape becoming more and more invested in and important than everybody talking about it, we're still very, very clear that the people is the key component. So great to hear. James, I think we're pretty much done for the day, so I'll hand over to you to wrap up if that's okay. And guys, thank you very much for your talks, but also your contribution as well.
Yeah, thank you everybody, and thanks for joining today's session. This was an absolute megastar lineup of speakers, and there's a lot of curation in the background to ensure that we can get best of breed. But if you've been sitting there like, oh, actually, I could get up there in 7 minutes, do feel free to DM me, and I'm happy to field your interest. Just a heads up that we are going to pull together our annual conference, SaaS Growth, which is a full-day event on the 7th of July, and we'll be featuring some of today's speakers. So just keep an eye out for that, because the details will come about. But really, I just want to say thank you for Owen for co-hosting, and to each of the speakers to putting in the time and effort it takes to get something into 7 minutes. That's actually the challenge. The idea that you rock up and do a 7 minutes, maybe when you're talking buckets like David was, it doesn't require that much prep. But generally, there's a lot of prep that goes into these. So I really appreciate everyone's efforts and contribution to this. And then really just to wrap up, a shout out to the sponsors, naturally, that allow me to continue promoting this. So shout out to SalesLoft, Mindtickle, Barrison, Aircall, Venetrix, Cognism, Air Marketing, SalesWorks and Sales Psyche, and also Cognism. So thank you again. We've given you back 2 minutes. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And if you get a chance to have a Guinness, good luck. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes.